Okay, recording has started.
You want me to share that link in the chat?
All right, it's 11:02. I think we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dwani Patel. I am the DDOT project manager for the Anacostia Riverwalk Trail Buzzard Point Neighborhood Segment project. On behalf of DDOT, I'd like to welcome you all to the first stakeholder meeting for this effort. Thank you all for joining. There is a large group on the call today from many different organizations, and we are looking forward to connecting with all of you. And with that, I'd like to pass it off to Karen LeBlanc with our consulting team to kick us off.
Thank you, Dewani. Good morning, everybody. As Dewani said, my name is Karen LeBlanc. I'm here on behalf of the team working with the District Department of Transportation on this project. We do want to thank you all for taking the time to join this meeting today. In just a few minutes, we are going to be presenting you some information about the project, some maps and photos detailing trail infrastructure specifics, details about existing conditions, bike infrastructure expectations. And then we're going to go into some detail about the project team's beginning analysis and then some schedule information. This meeting really is all about hearing from you. Your input is really valuable to this process. This is the first of potentially 3 stakeholder meetings that we're going to hold. A second meeting is scheduled. We're thinking it will be held in late May. That date has yet to be set, but as soon as we get that set, we will certainly let everybody know. And then at that point, the project team will determine along with you if a third meeting is necessary and is needed. And then we'll set that date up as well. With that said, and before I introduce our team today and we get into the presentation, I do have a couple of housekeeping items just related to technology and our process today. If you have any problems hearing me or any of the other team members who are presenting today, please post it to the chat. We are going to be monitoring the chat throughout. And so anything, if you have any concerns or if you want to throw anything in there, we ask you to use that platform. We intend to remain on mute unless except for the presenters today initially, in an effort that we can hear, we can hear everyone who's speaking. And then at the end, when we do our Q&A and we really get more into a conversation and hearing from everybody, we'll take people off mute as people want to give statements and talk and provide comments and feedback. This virtual stakeholder meeting is being recorded. It is for internal use only and will not be shared in a more public forum. If you're uncomfortable being on audio or recorded, please feel free to use the chat again or email the project manager. We'll provide Dewani's email at the end of the presentation. And then you can give us all your comment and information in that format as well. Following the presentation, we're going to conduct a monitored Q&A session, a question and answer session. We would ask at that point, if you have a question, please use your raise hand prompt, which is located, I think most everybody knows, at the top or the bottom of your screen. And then we'll just take those questions in the order they appear on my screen. And then, we'll be asking people, and we want this to be a little fluid, but we also, as everybody knows on these meetings and have been on so many of them, sometimes it can get confusing as to who's speaking. So we're going to be making sure that we facilitate that process. And then we will try to get through all the questions. We have, an hour and a half today. We will try to get through as many as we can, but this is not the end of this process. We want to hear from you afterwards as well. We want to keep you engaged throughout over the coming months. So we really definitely want to provide other opportunities for you to engage with us and provide feedback. The agenda today, as you can see it up on the screen, we're going to talk a little bit about some goals of the meeting. Mainly, it really is getting your feedback, but there are some goals that we want to hear. I'll speak to those specifically. We want to explain the current existing Anacostia River Trail network. I know we're all very excited and really pleased at the success of the Riverwalk Trail as it exists today. A lot of hard work went into it. A lot of DDOT and their consultants and teams over the decades basically have really created a wonderful mechanism for people to get in and around the Riverwalk and River Trail. We still want to continue building upon that success. We want to discuss some projects that we are aware of at Buzzard Point. That's going to be a key part of where we need to hear from you as well. And then we're going to talk about the Buzzard Point, this segment that we're talking about, which is not a direct connection to the Riverwalk. It's a kind of a temporary venue that we're going to be putting together here, but we're going to discuss that and what that could look like. And again, want to hear your feedback through that. Then we're going to do our Q&A session. And I will say during the Q&A session, toward the end of it, we also have an interactive mechanism. It's called Mentimeter, if anybody's used it before. It's very simple to use. We'll go through it in detail at the end, but it's really simple. If you have your phone nearby, that would be helpful. But you don't have to have your phone. You can scan a QR code. You can do it on your laptop. But it's just a fun way. We have like 4 or 5 questions we're going to ask you, and we can get some real-time feedback from you all. So we would love if you would participate in that as well. Today with us on the call, in addition to all of our guests, I'm really excited to see that we have so many people on this call. This is really fantastic. We have our project team. Dewani Patel is our project manager, who you've already heard from this morning. We have Ravinda Ganvir, who is the project manager for the AWI project overall, and we have David Ballack with us today as well. We have from the Jacobs team, Jason Casey, Christopher Conroy, and Marlon Smoker. Then we have from Tool Design, Megan McCarty Graham and Jinmi Matsunaga, who you will hear from in a little bit as well. And then from the KGL communications team, Karen LeBlanc, Vince Morris, and Destiny Mitchell. And Destiny is helping us drive the presentation, and also will be helping conduct the Mentimeter at the end. As I said, if you please feel free to use the chat at any time during this presentation. If you have a question, post it, along the way. If you don't want to forget it and you want to post it while you're thinking of it, please feel free to put it in there. If you want to comment on any of the slides, feel free to put it in there as well. As I said, we're recording. We're going to take, we're going to have a transcript of the chat, and so any way in which you can communicate to us at this point is going to be really helpful. And then today on the call, as I said, so great to see so many people here. We did do a fairly extensive review of the stakeholder community. We reached out, want to thank the Capitol Riverfront bid and the Southwest bid and all of our folks, our utility folks, our local federal folks for your help in providing, and I also do want to recognize our A&C commissioners who may be on the call today, and thank you for coming. We felt it was really important to get a good mix of stakeholders on our call, and again, we think we've reached out to everybody. I would ask you while I'm talking to this slide to take a look at the slide, and if you see anybody who's not on this stakeholder list, if you would let us know. Again, Dewani's email will be at the end, but if you would let us know, or again, put it in the chat and let us know, we will make sure that they get on our stakeholder list. And I do want to thank a lot of the people, everybody on this list, because we did reach out to you if you were not the right point of contact. If we didn't have the right point of contact, you were all very helpful in making sure we had the correct point of contact. So thank you all again for being here. And then again, if you think there's anybody that we've missed, just please let us know. And now let me just speak through some of the goals of the meeting today. So first of all, obviously, I've said this already, but we want to gather feedback from you. We want to obtain comments on any study-related issues that, again, remember, we're talking about access and mobility and moving people up and down and around the trail and this segment. And so getting your feedback on that is going to be really great. And then for those of you who have facilities, are in the middle of planning, have developments, know of developments, or involved in a project in any way, if you would just describe that facility status and any critical impacts considerations that we should know about that would affect any kind of planning that we're going to be doing later on, that would be really incredibly helpful. And then it would be really good for us to hear from you now. You'll see in a couple of slides, we've already identified a number of stakeholder projects that we know of. We obviously know the DDOT projects, and we'll be listing those and going over those and showing you a map of those as well. But if you could take a look, confirm that we're correct, and if we are not, let us know, and or if you see anything, again, that's missing, then please let us know as well. So any of your insight, obviously you're out and about in the community, working in it, living in it, and are very much involved in what's happening down on the ground. So if you could share that information with us as well. And then any schedule would be also very helpful. So at this point, I just want to go over the overall Anacostia River Trail network. For those of you on the call who may be new to the larger Anacostia Waterfront project and specifically completing and talking about the Anacostia River Trail network, thank you. The framework plan, the Anacostia Waterfront Framework Plan, set the vision in 2003 for the Anacostia River Trail. So this is 21 years later. Congratulations to so much success of infrastructure and transportation projects that have gone into this project, but there's, obviously more to do. And the vision that was set really spoke to a sustainability goal and mobility and access goals, along with many other goals. So just wanted to acknowledge that a lot of work has been done to date, and then very excited that we're continuing to move forward with additional planning. The plan charged the district to complete 20 miles of continuous trail from the Washington Channel on the Maryland border, and then on both sides to the Maryland border, and then on both sides of the Anacostia River. So today, again, we're talking about the west side and specifically the Buzzard Point area. And then also the purpose of this particular project is to provide a pedestrian bicyclist connection through the Buzzard Point neighborhood from the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge to 2nd Street Southwest. So for our existing trail network, we are looking at, and you'll see the 3 circles on the map that indicate what the 3 numbers are on to the left. So first of all, the cycle track on 2nd Street at Southwest and P Street Southwest, the Watermark Trail connecting Half Street to T Street Southwest, and then South Capitol Street trails as well in number 3, which are, part of the new bridge development as well. And then here's where you can see the planned Anacostia Riverwalk Trail Buzzard Point segment. And I do want to repeat that we're looking at a segment, and you'll see later, well, we'll talk about later, and we can discuss this with everyone later. What we're talking about, it's not what you traditionally see as a continuous, paved Anacostia Riverwalk Trail at this point. At this point, we're creating a connection that people can use while we continue to work with developers, and while DDOT continues to work with developers and other stakeholders, looking at the current conditions and where we can make those connections work. So at this point, there's the First Street to U Street. So these are planned areas, with the National Park Service at Buzzard Point Park, and then U Street to South Capitol Street, which is going to be adjacent development. And so we'll be working with developers on that particular parts of it as well. And then you can see some renderings of a Riverwalk section there on the bottom left-hand side. And we'll talk through some of this too when we have our conversation with you and we get your feedback. And then the adjacent projects that we wanted to go over as well. So these are the projects that we talked about, the development projects that we were talking about earlier that we have identified, and I'm going to just walk through them. Again, numbers coincide, but we do want to make sure that we wanted to speak to the ones that we're aware of, and then again, hear feedback from you if there's anything or any issues or anything along those lines that we should be aware of. So we have the Buzzard Point Park improvements, which you see down on the southern part there on the bottom right, near the trail segment. You see the transfer of obviously, and then we're also talking about the transfer of jurisdiction to DDOT for Half Street. And then in private developments, we're looking at the Stacks, which is at 2nd Street from B Street to T Street, the Verge at Half Street and Water Street, which is number 4, which is up closer over there. As you see, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are up closer toward the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge. Vulcan Materials concrete plant, of which we don't have any current plans for at the moment. Stewart Buzzard Point, which is at 1700 Half Street, and then the heliport site, no current plans there as well. And so just take a look there, note, of what you're aware of, and then again, just let us know. And then the DC projects that we're looking at are obviously, with the success of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, we're also now moving to a phase 2 segment, which is at South Capitol Street corridor. The Frederick Douglass Bridge West Oval Esplanade, which is that continuation off of the bridge into the Capitol Riverfront bid area. We've got the DC Port Improvement Project, which is over just south of the bridge. We've got DOEE is working on an interior drainage study, which is also just south of the bridge, is west of the bridge. And then the Buzzard Point floodplain feasibility study, which is down again by the segment area, and then the proposed Buzzard Point Fort McNair Trail. And then I would note that the trail that we've got, like that dotted line there, there's no plan. That's just a talking point. It's just a thought of what could happen there. We have obviously would want to speak and coordinate with anybody so I want to be very clear. There's no plans to put anything in. It was just kind of just to give a visual for people of what it could look like. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jimmy.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. I'm Jimmy Matsunaga. I'm an engineer with Tool Design and a part of the consultant team. And I'll be discussing the neighborhood segment of Buzzard Point Trail. The goal is to connect the existing bike facilities on Douglass Bridge and 2nd Street through the neighborhood. The map on the right shows the project area and the two proposed terminus points at Douglas Bridge, marked with a yellow star, and 2nd Street, marked by the blue star. The vision for the neighborhood segment is to install facilities on existing streets. The alignment shown here is just a potential alignment to provide the connection between Douglas Bridge and 2nd Street through the neighborhood. The project area is bounded on the east side by 2nd Street, R Street to the north, and the waterfront. This area is where we're considering the neighborhood segment of the Anacostia River Trail. Shown here are the existing bike facilities at the two terminus points. The existing bike facility on Douglas Bridge is a sidewalk level bike facility with a parallel sidewalk. And on 2nd Street, the existing facility is a two-way separated bike lane separated from vehicular traffic with precast curb. The adjacent sidewalk parallels the bike facility and is separated with curb and a vegetated buffer. There are segments of the trail that have already been constructed, as Karen mentioned. However, these are disconnected. The pictures shown here are the endpoints of the existing trail segments. On the left, marked with the green star on the map and on the photo, is the southern segment of the existing trail and where it connects seamlessly with a two-way bike facility on 2nd Street. So already a great transition there. The photos in the middle show the northern segment by the watermark, and the endpoints of the segment are marked by the purple and the orange stars. This segment ends at Half Street, which is shown on the bottom photo, and the other end of the trail ends with railing near T Street, looking out at the Frederick Douglass Bridge. While the existing trail segments have a beautiful view shed of the waterfront, they remain disconnected. But as Karen discussed earlier, these segments will eventually be a part of a continuous trail along the Anacostia River. For the neighborhood segment, the trail may or may not use these existing trail segments to meet our project goal of connecting Douglas Bridge and 2nd Street. So some facilities that may be considered for the neighborhood segment are shown on this slide. I want to note that these facilities are not inclusive of all facilities that may consider. For example, in some locations, we have very wide sidewalks and we may consider a shared facility. But the intention of the slide is to provide some facility examples and user considerations. The photos on the left and middle are examples of separated bike facilities. The photos on the left show a one-way separated bike lane. The photo on the top shows separation using a concrete median, and the photo on the bottom shows separation using flex posts. In the middle are examples of a two-way separated bike lane, which may look familiar since it's the existing facility on 2nd Street. Both of these facilities provide a dedicated area for bicyclists to operate. The separated facilities provide vertical separation between bicyclists and vehicular traffic and are more likely to be used by bicyclists who are less confident. The photo on the right is an example of shared lanes marked with arrows. Shared lanes are most appropriate on streets with low vehicular volumes and speeds. And I'll pass it back to Karen.
Thanks, Jenny. So here's our contact information. If you want to reach, again, there's Dewani's email, which is dewani.patel@dc.gov. You can reach her and ask, if you want to provide any feedback or information at any point, not even today, but just even ongoing over the coming months, please feel free to do so. Or you can reach out to Vince Morris. His email is also on the slide as well, and we can go ahead and post those in the chat as well. Or I will make sure that they're posted in the chat as well. So at this point, Dewani, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I would go ahead and start our Q&A session and just ask people if you would raise your hand, and I can see where your hands are raised in the list, and then we can take some comments. Just want to make sure I'm not seeing any hands raised. Oh, wait, there we go. Good job. Thank you, Karthik.
Hi, I'm Karthik. I just
Hi,
want to
nice
make
to
sure
see you.
it's great to see you as well. Thank you so much for the information. I'm excited to see this get done, especially with the wide sidewalks. Where there are wide sidewalks, or where you're considering to kind of place the bike lane and sidewalks together, I would highly suggest that we do this in a way that conforms to the standard that was set by the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, which was 18 feet. Because I think, you know, that the weakest link is going to be the constraining factor for anyone who's actually going to be using this thing. So if there's a narrow sidewalk, and if you make these bike lanes or sidewalks that are narrow, and someone is using, we spent $500 million on this bridge, ultimately going to the bridge, the comfort level that they'll actually experience is going to be limited by the worst segment. So what I really want to make sure is that y'all don't put in narrow sidewalks or a narrow shared path, because the worst segment is going to be the thing that people actually feel. So please, especially also for South Capitol Street, phase 2, kind of same thing. Like if you make it worse than the 18 foot that's on the bridge, then people are going to have a worse experience. Though kind of the weakest link is going to be the one that defines someone's experience going from one part of the city to another. Thanks.
Thank you. Saad?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Mr. Siddiqui? Good morning.
I'm Saad from Pepco Distribution Engineering. Just wanted to ask a quick question. Are there any construction drawings that are available for this project, or when can we anticipate some construction drawings?
So Dwani, I'll leave that open to you.
Yeah, hi, Saad. No, that's a good question. At this time, we do not. We're really early in our preliminary planning stages, but as we continue on, we'll be sure to keep everyone updated. And as we get closer to our second stakeholder meeting, we will have some alternatives developed that, will give us a better picture of what's going on here.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Saad. Kristen?
Hi there. I'm Kristen Connell. I'm with Ackridge. We are the developer working on the stacks. Thanks for hosting us today. Appreciate it. I don't have a lot of substantive comments at the moment, other than I think a couple of things. One, unless I'm missing them, there's a lot of people on the line. I can't tell if there's anyone from National Park Service on this call. At least not the folks we know very well and work with day to day. But since they're such a substantial part of the neighborhood and the, sort of trail connection, I would just, highly suggest that, we make sure they're an active part of this process. And if they can't make meeting times, reach out separately. A group of stakeholders in the neighborhood have worked with them for at least 4 years now to try to advance the development of the park and the permanent trail. And we're at a critical point where I think that planning is going to begin on their end. They have the funding now. So it would be a giant missed opportunity to not closely coordinate. So and the second piece, I would just suggest, if possible, I know there was some commentary over email about audio difficulties of hosting a hybrid meeting. But once you start to have plans, I think it's really difficult to have this kind of a conversation strictly virtual. So if there's any way to do in-person sessions that allow people to join virtually, I think that would be really beneficial for everybody, because this is such a built environment topic. It's tough to do just on screens and microphones.
Thank you, Kristen, and both very good questions. I'm going to take your second one first. Yes, we've already talked about doing an in-person stakeholder meeting. As you've noted, we didn't have a lot really to to show on a table or in person, or, you know, find the need for those breakout maybe sessions and things. This was really more informational gathering, making sure we had the right people and getting all that information. But the next stakeholder meeting, we've obviously been talking about that, and we will look to do that as an in-person meeting.
Wonderful.
And then to your first question about the Park Service, without a doubt, the Park Service is actually one of the founding members of the partnership for the Anacostia Waterfront program overall. And there's a lot of coordination that happens with the Park Service. I know they were invited to this meeting. Dhwani, I don't know if we'll double check our list. Kristen, if you want to go ahead and email Dhwani or me or Vince and say who you're working with, just to make sure we do have them on the list. I'd be surprised we didn't, but always open to making sure. And then if they, and then we'll make sure that they're definitely wrapped in as well. And Dhwani, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And hi, Kristen.
Hi.
We did extend the invite to Michael with MPS, and there was another person added before that was forwarded to. They did seem to accept the invite, but I don't see them here today. But we have talked to them, reached out, and they also mentioned some discussion potentially, you know, offline that we can have with them, and we've been trying to schedule a meeting. So definitely agree, and you know, we want to have them involved along the way for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. John Becker, good morning.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, good morning. This is John with MRP. I had a question specifically as it relates to the improvements on either side of the bridge on the north side. I know there was some back and forth the last year or two on the planned improvements, you know, on the east and the west and then under the bridge. And I'm curious if anyone on this call would have an update as to exactly what that scope will be, the timing, if there's any drawings that show what those improvements might be. That is my question. Thanks.
And Dhwani, I'll pass that off to you.
Hey, John, thank you for your question. That's a good question. I personally, at this time, don't have any update on that, but I can definitely circle back and just check in if we have some information regarding that.
That would be great. I'll shoot you a separate note if you don't mind. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Robbie, it sounds like you're trying to talk, but it's not coming in.
Hi, this is Andrew Christopher with Ackridge. I want to just ask a quick question as well. And Dhwani, nice to see you. We've been communicating a little bit by email. And my colleague Kristen was on the line earlier. I think another thing that would be helpful for the next session would be to start to look at these sections in a timeline basis and talk about what sections could be completed first as it pairs with both the private development and the sections that DDOT controls. It's hard to have these conversations kind of in a vacuum, right? So I think that understanding how the whole trail could be built out, timeline perspective would be very helpful. And then the sections of the trail where the final plan is much further out on the time horizon, you know, those would be the places to maybe target an interim condition so that we can get as much connectivity down to the neighborhood as possible. And Catherine, to your point about the trail section going around Fort McNair, that's been a topic of conversation in the neighborhood and in the community for a number of years. I saw someone with the qualification in their name as representing the Joint Base. And so I don't know if that individual has been part of the conversations historically. I didn't recognize their name, but that might be another person to just keep close in the conversation, especially with National Park Service. So those are my quick comments, and thanks for hosting this, and hope to see everyone in person here at a future session.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's give it another minute or so. Does anybody else have any thoughts, questions, ideas? Okay, well, that's super. I would ask at this point, we'd like to move to this little survey that we want to do. I think we would get some good feedback from folks. Again, it's pretty easy to use. If you're on your laptop and you want to do it on your laptop, just type in the URL www.menti.com. You'll see a small square show up, and then just enter that number 24334839 in the square, and the slides will pop right up in front of you, and you can respond to them. We're going to go through one slide at a time. One question at a time. It comes up as a slide, or you can use the QR code on the screen and scan it, and that will bring you to the same site. You'll get a slide that'll pop up in front of you with a question, and then we'll go ahead and move to the first question. If anybody has any problems or questions, put it in the chat. We can walk you through it. Somebody can help you out, but I think it's pretty straightforward. All right, super. All right, so first question is, do you agree with determinist points for the trail? And so again, just look at the slide, click on your answer, and then just hit submit. And we can start seeing folks that are responding. And I can type in again, well, you can see the number that you would need to do type in. So it's www.menti.com. And then you can type in the number 24334839. I'll put that in the chat just to make sure that everybody has that information. All blue is good. Oh, sorry, I said that too soon. Any answer is good. Any answer is good.
Can you show the map again?
Damani, do you know what number that is in the slide deck? Just so we make sure we pull the right one up.
No, but it's the one with the 2 stars, the blue and yellow, I think.
Oh, it's the one that Jinmi was speaking to. Destiny, can you pull that one up?
Yep, that one. Yep.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, I think you can go back, Destiny. All right, super. Thank you all very much. Okay, we're going to go to question 2. You'll see it pop up on your screen in just a moment. Do you have any comments on the suggested route as shown? Then this could be, they look great. You need something here. Have you thought of this?
Karen, I should maybe go back to that same slide you were on just a moment ago, just so it's on the screen while we're talking about it.
Okay. Do you note of anything that might be of concern, or do you think it looks great and you think this would work? Anything along those lines?
I mean, we'd love to go through the fort, right? But I assume that's a non-starter at this point.
We do have a lot of number of representatives from the fort here, which we really appreciate them coming on. So they will hear your feedback, but obviously that's going to be a much larger conversation, and we respect their thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I also missed it. This is Andrew Christopher again. You're talking about an interim condition here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is either striping or paving treatment or, flexi posts or something to create an interim connection between Frederick Douglass Bridge here. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a little hard to comment on some of these things when there's not a whole lot of detail behind it.
No, I understand, Andrew, and you're right. That's why we were just trying to get some generate some thoughts or ideas. But any and all of what you just said could be included in that segment. It could be, different elements, different treatments, depending on where you are in the actual trail segment.
Okay. I mean, again, I apologize for being the loudmouth here, but John, I look
No,
to you, to your comments too as well. I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about just as the neighborhood, and maybe some other background context for those that aren't aware, but there's been a lot of coordination within the sub neighborhood in Buzzard Point already. Some of the conversation we've had, is there a way to do this interim trail right along? We've been looking at kind of the map that you show, but also is there a way to do this interim connection right along the water side? Because in this scenario, for example, the existing portions of the trail that are built, you're kind of completely bypassing those, especially around river, around the south and River Point and around Watermark. So again, maybe this is a better topic for something when we're all kind of in person and have some more detail on this, but just throwing it out there.
And I think the goal of this is to create that connection while all of these other things are happening, because to put in a trail at this point, there's obviously a lot of development going on and a lot of, changing of the landscape in general. And so those plans are definitely being spoken to and about at a later date. But in the meantime, there should be some type of connection. And that's what DDOT wants to look at, is what could that look like in the interim.
And also to piggyback off of that point, like this is the time to do it while there's development going on, because what we don't want to have happen is all of that development to become a car sewer that is totally car dependent. The more connections that we can put in while the development is happening, before there are lots of people who bring in their cars and bring in their pollution, we can have this place be a truly multimodal place where people can get to the development, down to the waterfront, down to various places that they want to go without a car.
Okay, Destiny, I think you can go to the next one. We may have to go back to this slide again, but just for now. Yeah, can you show? Yeah, I guess, did people? Oh, perfect. Oh, great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for participating in this. This is so helpful. All right, now we'll go to the next question. Are there any streets we should avoid? And if we should go back to the map, just please say go back to the map, please. And again, I should, the team is definitely looking at all of this, and they're going to take all of the input that they have and, the various responses that we get and plans that are underway and anything else that you share. And all of that will be used in kind of making these determinations. So if you think of something after the meeting, please feel free to email and let us know. And I should note that we are in the process of putting up a landing page about this project, and that should be up within the next week, actually. And as soon as we get that, we can send that link to everybody.
Can you share the map again, please?
Mm-hmm.
Sir, I'll say one thing, kind of, and I don't know exactly where it ties in, but we've had the situation on Potomac with a couple of buildings where some bike lanes and parking was removed, and it's the only loading areas for our retail on the riverfront side. So essentially, it made it nearly impossible to load retail that is on the river side versus the Potomac side. And it's really created kind of an unintended consequence, I think, as a good intent with the bike lane, but it's hurting small businesses because all of a sudden they have to spend a lot more money and time and energy and resources to load their business because that was previously the. So I would just, I guess my general comment is to keep in mind how retail services, small businesses would be loaded, and we're not accidentally making it really challenging on them.
Great point. Thank you, John. All right, Destiny, would you go back to that one slide? And I just think we have one or two more questions and then we can go back. All right, great. Thank you. We'll go to the next question. And this is similar, any ones we should use, but maybe more so is if there's a concern. And to John's point, is there loading issues or parking issues or taking the parking away issues or anything along those lines that, you know, somehow how a street functions, that you have a concern that, you know, the any type of bike facility would not fit well within that constraint or would be a great place for that, quite frankly, to go. Yeah, you can go back if you want, one more time. That's great. Do we have one more question after this one, Destiny? No, okay, just want to make sure. All right, I'm gonna go back to the slide, Destiny, and then I think we can. Oh, perfect. Thank you all so much. We really do appreciate your feedback and all your participation. I do want to go back. That was the last of our interactive questions. So we really do appreciate your participating with us on that today. And then I just want to go back. I'm going to just double check nobody else has their hand up or anybody else has any comments that they'd like to share with us today. And we'll just give it another minute just to double check. And then Dhwani, I'm going to pass it back to you. Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Karthik, yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, you know, this is one thing. DDOT's the lead agency for the sustainable DC mode share goals, which is 50% mass transit, 25% walk, bike, and 25% vehicle. So I just want to make sure, you know, I haven't seen that really be infused into DDOT communication. It's a lead agency. We're nowhere near hitting those goals. So, you know, I think when we talk about these things, this is great. This is a great initiative, but I want to make sure that we never water down our work because of some external concern, especially people driving in from who are not even residents driving in and parking. We need to hit these goals. It's something that the mayor set out. We need to hit 75% non-vehicle use. DDOT's a lead agency, and I really want to make sure that you know we're taking that mantle and really internalizing that.
Thank you. All right, Dhwani, I think we've heard from everybody.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I just want to finish off by saying, you know, thank you everyone for joining today. We appreciate your time. You know, I know it's a Wednesday in the middle of the day, so thank you so much. And our contact information is here, so feel free to communicate with us if there's any other thoughts, you know, after this meeting, and we're happy to chat. So again, thank you all so much. And with that, we'll conclude.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.